Do you really like what you are doing now? If not, then do you already have a sense of the talents and passions you have? Most people would answer no, but do not worry if you are one of those people, because anyone can start at any age to seek their element. Finding your element means finding the things you love doing and what you're good at. The element is the intersection between passion and talent. This is the state where you experience peak performance and brilliance. This book explores the limitations of education and how we must not limit our definition of intelligence to simply getting high grades. This book goes into detail about the diversity of intelligence among people. It features stories of inspiring people with talents that were not valued in school, but they were able to succeed. You will also learn about what it means to be creative and how we can unlock the unlimited potential of our imagination. This book will discuss what being in the zone means and how to get there. Are you ready to live a more fulfilled life by discovering your authentic self and achieving your best performance? This book will help you find what you were born to do. The Element. Jillian was an 8-year-old girl having trouble at school. She would pass her assignments late, she did poorly on tests, and she was often distracted during class. She didn't see anything wrong with this, but the school was getting increasingly concerned about her behavior. The school wrote to her parents that they think she has a learning disorder, and it may be best to enroll her to a special school. Jillian's mother brought her to a psychologist. Jillian was worried about the possibility of attending a special school. So the psychologist and Jillian's mom stepped out of the room, but they turned the radio on as they left. As they went outside, the psychologist suggested they should watch from the window to see what Jillian would do inside. As soon as they were out of the room, Jillian began to move around to the music with these graceful, fluid, and really natural movements. The psychologist then told Jillian's mother that Jillian wasn't sick. He said, "She's a dancer, so they should enroll her in a dance school." Jillian's parents listened to the advice of the psychologist. Jillian felt wonderful. She honestly felt at home in dance school, surrounded by people just like her, who simply could not keep their bodies still. Eventually, she attended the Royal Ballet School in London and became part of the Royal Ballet Company itself. Jillian Lynn went on to become one of the most accomplished choreographers of our time. All of this happened because someone took the time to understand Jillian rather than immediately conclude that she was sick. Jillian just needed to be herself. Jillian discovered her talent and passion at the same time. She derived her accomplishments and joy from dancing. Her story can actually be classified as an epiphany story because it involves a kind of revelation. It clearly shows the before and after. Jillian had discovered her element. It's the place where something you love to do and something you are good at intersect and come together. When you find your element, it can, really improve your overall well-being and help you reach greater success. The element can be defined as the intersection point between natural talent and personal passion. People who find their element often describe it as truly knowing who they are and what they were meant to do. People are not limited to just one element. They can find joy in doing several things and may become equally good in all of them. There also isn't a concrete formula to finding the element. It differs for every person. As you can see, the element isn't an exact science. However, it has two main features and two conditions for being in it. The features are aptitude and passion, while the conditions are attitude and opportunity. Aptitude is the natural inclination towards an activity. It is an intuitive grasp of how something should be done or how it works. For example, you can be good at singing, solving math problems, playing cricket, or cooking. Passion is taking delight and pleasure in doing something or having an appetite for that hobby or interest. It is not enough to have an aptitude for something. You should also feel like it's your life's calling. Attitude is our perspective on ourselves and the external circumstances surrounding us. People who love what they do often describe themselves as lucky, while those who are unsatisfied with their lives say that they are unlucky. Randomness will always be a part of our lives. But successful people have similar attitudes such as perseverance, optimism, and trust in themselves. Lastly, we need the right opportunities to know how far our aptitudes can take us. There are opportunities that we have and opportunities we create. Jillian is special in that she has found something that she loves to do and she is doing it. This is something that not a lot of people can say they have done. Why does the element elude a lot of people? The first limitation lies in our understanding of our capabilities. We all have natural-born talents, intelligence, imagination, and skills. However, we only use a fraction of their maximum potential. The second limitation is our misunderstanding of how our individual systems work as a whole. The common idea is that our minds, bodies, and feelings work separately when, in fact, they are all related to each other. The third limitation is we underestimate our potential for growth and change. Most people seem to think that as we grow older, our capacities decline and opportunities become limited. These three limitations can be intensified by other factors such as the people and environment around us and our own expectations of ourselves. Another major factor that could hinder you from finding your element is education. Paul McCartney went to Liverpool Institute and honestly, he spent most of his time playing around rather than taking his education seriously. When he got home, he'd much rather listen to rock music and, learn how to play the guitar instead of doing his assignments. Paul met John Lennon at a school celebration and not long after, formed a band with George Harrison and Ringo Starr. They became known and loved as the Beatles. By the mid-1980s, the Liverpool Institute closed down, but it was revived as the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, or LIPA. It became one of Europe's leading facilities for professional art training. Paul McCartney is the lead patron of LIPA. Paul McCartney's case is, experienced by a lot of people worldwide. Some people just feel that their talents are not really something that schools value. Certain features are common across all education systems worldwide that honestly prove to be pretty problematic when it comes to finding one's element. First, there's a much higher importance placed on certain kinds of academic ability. Schools tend to focus more on critical analysis and reasoning, especially with words and numbers. Now, these are important, sure, but there's so much more to human intelligence than just these concepts. Second, there's a clear hierarchy of subjects, with science, math, and language skills right at the top, humanities in the middle, and arts way down at the bottom. And even within the arts, there's a hierarchy. Music and visual arts usually get a higher status than theater and dance. More and more schools are unfortunately cutting out the arts from their subjects. Lastly, there's this increasing reliance on standardized assessments. Students are constantly pressured to get high scores on quizzes and exams. This can, honestly, make a lot of students feel alienated from the culture of education. So why is our education system like this? Well, it was created during the time of the Industrial Revolution when the main goal was economic growth and mass production. But now, we're in the digital age. Businesses today are actually looking for creative people who can think independently. If our education system keeps draining our children's creativity, what do you think would happen? Think differently. One of the key elements we really need to be able to change about ourselves is how we take for granted our own abilities. The tricky part is it's pretty difficult to identify those things we take for granted because, we take them for granted in the first place. One of the most common examples of this is our senses. If you ask people how many senses they have, most would probably answer 5. Some would answer 6, including the sense of intuition. But, according to the Onlo Yu people of southern Ghana, we have another sense, which is the sense of balance. It is fundamental for our daily functions, yet we all take it for granted. We are all accustomed to having balance, so we stop thinking about it. But Bart didn't take his sense of balance for granted. He wasn't an active kid, but when he was 6 years old, Bart discovered that he could walk with his hands as good as his feet. Eventually, Bart could climb up and down the stairs using his hands. One day, his mother and teacher brought him to a gymnastics center. Bart was so happy. He felt like it was Christmas Day at Disneyland. At that moment, he realized his skills were far more than just merely for the amusement of others. 8 years later, he competed at the Montreal Olympics to represent America, and he became the most accomplished gymnast ever. Athletes like Bart have an extraordinary grasp of their bodies and their senses. When they practice, they commit their mind and muscle memory to the routine. Often, for the final performance, most steps are just too complex or too fast to be able to think and make decisions about them consciously. So, athletes rely on their feelings of intuition, physical reflex, and coordination. In this way, athletes challenge the common idea about human intelligence. Beyond imagining. During his lectures, Ken Robinson likes to ask his audience how they would rank their intelligence and creativity on a scale of 1 to 10. With intelligence, you would see more people ranking themselves higher than 5. With creativity, a lot of people would rank themselves lower than 5. almost all people give themselves different points for intelligence and creativity. This is because of the common idea that intelligence and creativity lie on different ends of the spectrum. This poses a problem because the truth is that intelligence and creativity are deeply related to each other. In finding your element, we must truly understand what being creative means. Let us break down the common myths about creativity. The first one is that being creative is reserved only for special people. This is false. Everyone is born with a capacity for creativity, in the same way as literacy. When someone isn't able to read or write, we don't say that this person has no capacity for literacy. It's just that they have not learned it yet. That is the same way with creativity. We need to learn it and see how creativity works. Another myth is that to be creative, we must perform special activities. To be considered creative, one must be involved in arts, design, or advertising fields. But that is not true. Anything requires creativity. Math, science, business, sports, anything that requires intelligence involves creativity. The last myth is that people are either creative or they're not. Believing in this idea suggests that creativity is a fixed trait, such as eye color or height. The truth is, you can develop creativity at any point and in any aspect of your life. Let us examine a fundamental part of human intelligence, imagination. We tend to take it for granted completely. We criticize people's ideas and thoughts and regard them as having their heads up in the clouds or that it is all in their imagination. However, imagination is what sets us apart from other species. We can step outside of our actual physical surroundings and create mental images of other places, people, things, or memories. If asked to imagine your mother or the dinner you had last night, you can certainly do these things, even if you don't have your mother or food in front of you. Through imagination, we can revisit the past, reflect on the present, and dream of the future. But make no mistake, imagination is not the same as creativity. Creativity is being able to bring your imagination to life. It is taking your mental images to the next level. You can apply your creativity to anything at all. Back in 1988, George Harrison had a solo album coming out, and he needed a recording to use as a B-side for his single release of This Is Love. So Bob Dylan and 3 other friends jumped in to help George create the song Handle with Care. When George took this song back to his producers, they were honestly stunned at the masterpiece that the 5 of them had created together. The producers were so impressed, they asked if the group could make an entire studio album. But time was really tight, since Bob Dylan would be heading out on a long tour in just 2 weeks. So, George, Bob, and the others squeezed in every bit of time they had to create the album, relying only on the creative spark between their musical minds. They didn't pressure themselves by overthinking the details, just let the creativity flow. This whole process, it resulted in an album filled with songs that were very casual but honestly pretty classic. The album, called The Traveling Wilburys, ended up selling 5 million copies, and it was even named one of the 100 best albums of all time by Rolling Stone magazine. Now, another example of creativity at work is Richard Feynman and the way he won the 1965 Nobel Prize in Physics. Besides being a physicist, Feynman was also a painter and a jazz musician, which is kind of amazing. One day, he was just having lunch at the university cafeteria when suddenly a student threw a plate and it went flying, spinning around in circles. Feynman noticed that the blue Cornell logo on the plate spun twice as fast as the plate itself. He wrote his thoughts on a paper napkin and just went on with his day. Later, Feynman took out that paper napkin and started playing with his imagination. The spinning logo and the plate reminded him of an equation about the rotation of an electron. He let his thoughts pour out, kind of like taking off the cork from a bottle of wine. Feynman eventually solved the problem and, he won the Nobel Prize. In the zone. Iwa Lawrence is the best female billiards player in the world. Her love for the game started when she followed her brother to a bowling alley and discovered the pool room, where she watched several games. She fell in love with the game instantly. Iwa figured out how the game works, and she dedicated her life to billiards. She eventually moved to New York in pursuit of the sport. She won the first ever European Women's Championship. Fame and fortune naturally followed Iwa on her rise to the top of the billiards world, but what really kept her going was still the game itself. When she plays, it's like the whole world disappears, and it's just her and the billiards table. For Iwa, time flows differently when she's playing. She feels like she's been playing for only 20 minutes, when in reality, it has been 9 hours. Geometry and physics have never been her forte at school, but when she plays billiards, she automatically sees grids and diagrams all over the table. EWA's mind just works differently. Playing billiards puts her in the zone, and she sees where she wants the balls to go. Ewa has been playing billiards for over 3 decades, but she still feels the same energy that the sport has given her. Even when she does an exhibition, she still gets nervous. People think that she doesn't because she has played so many times. But Ewa says it's not about that. It's about being in the moment. Being in the zone is being in the heart of the element. Sometimes, even when we're doing what we love, we can experience frustrations, and things may not always work out. But when they do, it becomes the most magical thing. We get intense focus, and we live in the moment. Everything else just fades away, and we perform at our best. You become lost in what you're doing. The rest of the world slips away, and hours feel like minutes. This is what being in the zone is like. Those who have found and embraced their element frequently visit this place. One of the strongest indicators that we are in the zone is the comfort and authenticity we feel. When we are doing something we love, something we are naturally good at, that's when we are closest to our most authentic self. When you're in the zone, you feel like you are where you are meant to be. Time also feels different. It moves more quickly and smoothly. Another common feature of being in the zone is being in a meta state where ideas flow more quickly, making it easier to perform the task. You become an instrument for your ideas to flow through rather than struggling to reach them. An important feature of being in the zone is that rather than draining energy from you, you are actually getting energy from it. Activities we love doing fill us with more energy, even if they are physically tiring. This is why we need to find our element. It becomes our energy reserve, and we feel more alive because of it. Conclusion. In this book, you learned what the element is. Too many people fail to connect with their true talents, thus never knowing what they are truly capable of. Finding your element is important for you to have purpose and fulfillment in life. Intelligence is typically measured by standardized tests and being good in subjects that require critical analysis and reasoning. However, there are different kinds of intelligence that should be given just as much importance, such as music, arts, sports, humanities, and others. In this book, you also learned about the link between intelligence and creativity. Intelligence and creativity should work side by side to bring out the best ideas in you. You also learned about being in the zone. It is where we become one with our element. We reach a higher level of focus, and time flies by. When we are in the zone, ideas flow more easily, and we perform our best. Most people go through life wandering around aimlessly. It is never a good feeling to wake up and go through the same motions of the day, doing the same activities you don't feel invested in. It is never too late to find your element. Hopefully this book has helped you. The education system and expectations of society may have discouraged you from pursuing your talent and passion, but now it depends on you. Any activity can become your element. You can be the best in whatever you choose to do. If you love this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content. Thank you for watching.